Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the TradeStation Getting Started. My name is Jesus Nava. I'm the Director of Client Training and Education for TradeStation Securities. It's always great to be here and talk a little bit about the TradeStation platforms and how you can use them to place trades, analyze the markets, and even backtest strategies. Today, we're going to highlight the TradeStation Desktop. So welcome, everyone. Make yourself comfortable. The chat is open for you to ask any questions if you have any, and then we can make this class a little bit more interactive. Let's go through some disclosures before we get started. Keep in mind that every symbol and idea that I talk about is for educational purposes only. These are not recommendations of TradeStation. Also, active trading is not suitable for everyone, and past historical performance is no guarantee of future results. Please be aware of all these of the risks that are associated with trading online. We have the options and the futures risk disclosures at the bottom. And for any additional details, go to www.tradestation.com/important-information. Welcome, everyone. Manolo has shared that link for the disclosures right there in the chat as well. Manolo is my colleague. He's going to be standing by to moderate the chat, answer any questions, provide any useful links. So just look out for Manolo's posts right there in the chat. So welcome, everyone. So I hope you guys are ready. I'm going to highlight certain features of the TradeStation Desktop. I'm going to concentrate in three main areas, which is charting, scanning, and trading. And hopefully you can walk away with something useful during this presentation. The TradeStation Desktop, this is the way that it looks when you first launch it. We open up in a workspace that's titled TradeStation Today. The intention of this workspace is to keep you informed of some of the things that are happening at TradeStation and some useful links as well. For example, on the left-hand side, let me bring my cursor here to this box that says Getting to Know Your TradeStation Desktop. You have a collection of videos. In fact, if you click on the little drop-down, you have access to 18 specific videos on TradeStation features. So if you're interested in easy language or strategy trading, these are kind of introductory videos on those areas, and they pretty much tell you where to go to get started. Those videos that you find here in TS Today are also posted on the TradeStation YouTube channel. So you're welcome to go there as well and look for those if YouTube is more comfortable. Over here on the right-hand side, you have upcoming events. So if you want to keep an eye open on, what type of topics are being covered this week or the following, just make sure that you come here and check upcoming events. You do have the ability to register directly from this workspace. By the way, the events that are posted here are the same events that are posted on TradeStation.com. So if you'd rather go to TradeStation.com, learn events, then you can go there as well. I don't know if you can share there we go. Excellent. So the link that Manolo had just shared with everyone here is a link to our upcoming events. Just check out the topics. If something interests you, make sure that you register for that presentation. This afternoon, we have a special presentation. I'm not sure, Manolo, if you have a direct link to register for this afternoon's Art of TradeStation. We have a presentation on advanced order settings and conditional orders. So we're going to take a look at some of the TradeStation functionality around price activations, time activations, and some of the advanced settings are available to every trader on the TradeStation platform. So make sure that you register for that session today at 2 p.m. in the afternoon. It's right in when the markets are open, because we need the market opens in order for me to give you some examples on how to place trades while the markets are open. So that's the link to Art of TradeStation. If you haven't registered, please do so, and I'll look forward to seeing you at 2 p.m. That's 2 p.m. Eastern time, by the way. All right. So yeah, the TS Today workspace is something that comes up if you go to apps and click on TS Today. So if you lose it or you'd like to check it out later, you can by just launching it through the apps menu. Just click TS Today and it opens up. So let's go ahead and click on the plus right here at the bottom. This plus right here at the bottom left of the platform allows you to open up a new workspace. And in my classes, I usually start from scratch. Although, if you go to the TS Today workspace, you're going to find a section here with recommended workspaces and and templates that TradeStation provides to get you started and to give you ideas on how to set up applications. For the most part, I start my workspaces from scratch. But if you're struggling, building workspaces, you can take a look at the ones that are there as examples, and then you can modify them and make them your own. So I'm going to go here to this untitled workspace that I just created, and I'm going to go to the apps menu where all my TradeStation applications are going to be listed. Of course, we have a big selection of applications that, because of time, we're not going to be able to discuss every single one. That's why I said at the beginning that we're going to concentrate just on charting, scanning, and trading. So let me go ahead and chart analysis. This is the way that you create a chart. And you can, repeat that process every time you need a new chart, apps chart, and you can create as many charts as you need. So let me resize this window. I'm going to spend some time here on this chart. Now, the first thing that I'm going to show you is the up arrow and down arrow keys on your keyboard. So make sure you find those keys on your keyboard because they're going to be very useful. I'll use them all the time. I press the down arrow key to compress my chart and reduce the bar spacing, or I press the up arrow key and I expand. If I want to see more detail and look at a specific candle, I use the up arrow. So down arrow and up arrow are going to allow you to do that. Right now I have a chart of Disney. You can see the symbol right here on the top left corner. TradeStation remembers the last symbol you were looking at, and it'll just load it for you automatically. And this is a 5-minute chart. Depending on the time frame that you load in TradeStation, we're going to give you a default amount of historical data. So when you look at a chart that at the chart that I have here on the screen, you see that there's candles on the left, and then I have an open area on the right, and it doesn't fill that area automatically. So you have to force TradeStation, not force, but you have to request. You have to request additional data so that TradeStation can fill that area. So you can request as much data as you need. On a 5-minute time frame, TradeStation is just going to give you 5 days of historical data. But if you need like 30 days, just type in 30 days. And notice that I'm using something called the command line in TradeStation. I use that all the time because it's a shortcut to a lot of commands in TradeStation. Rather than going through the menus on top and find where I request historical data, I can type in my request like I just did. Notice that it shows up right here inside the command line. The command line is something that pops up automatically as soon as you press a key on the keyboard. So all you need to do is start typing and the command line pops up. And what you see inside my command line is 30 space days. So you can do that type of commands, and you can do days, you can do weeks, months, years. So if I wanted, 5 years of 5-minute data, I can just type in 5 years in here, hit the enter key, and the chart will load. So anytime you see some black inside the chart is because we don't have enough historical data and you need to request it. But you saw how quickly my chart loaded. I didn't have to wait for that data. And that's one of the nice things about TradeStation, that the download and the way that it stores data is very efficient. So you shouldn't have to be concerned about, loading the amount of historical data. Of course, there's going to be at the beginning some prompts to download the historical data. I may have had, historical data on Disney already and it loaded up automatically, but that's okay. You can choose whether you want that data now or later. Most of the time when you do a historical request is because you need the data right now. So what I do on that prompt is that I select, as soon as possible. And then I check the box that says use this setting for any future download, so that when you request the data, you get it right away. You don't have to wait for a later time. Okay. So that's regarding data. So now if I squeeze my chart all the way down, I still have a little bit of space here on the right-hand side, but not too concerning. But you can see more of the historical price movements of Disney in the past 30 days. All right, let me open up my chart, up arrow key. Another thing that I can do here in charting is squeeze the time, the price scale. You can see that my price scale goes from somewhere about 79.90 something, and it goes all the way up to 81.20 something. If I click here and I squeezing meaning I click and drag. So you click, hold, and drag. You can see how the scale squeezes, and I can see more detail. I can do the opposite too. I can click and drag up if I want to see more detail on the scale, and you can see how the candlesticks will stretch. As soon as you do this, you're creating what's called a freestyle scale, allowing you to click on the candles and move them in any direction you want. So this is like dragging your chart anyway. All right. Once you've done your changes and your analysis, just bring your cursor down to the bottom of the chart. You're going to see some buttons up here, right here at the bottom. That's an overlay. Some of these buttons allow you to increase, decrease the bar spacing. The two magnifying glasses allow you to zoom out and zoom in into specific areas of the chart. And then you have this fifth button that is a reset scale button. You click on that fifth button to reset scale, and now you're back to automatic. Hopefully that wasn't too fast. It will take some time, to get used to the functionality. But anytime you want to increase the scale or, concentrate on a particular section of the chart, you have all these mechanisms to maneuver and focus on a specific area. Let's talk about drawing tools and technical indicators. All the drawing tools are going to be right here in the drawing menu. Many of you may use drawings many times. Or all the times, maybe you're always drawing trend lines and horizontal lines. Let me show you a couple of things. I'm going to click on horizontal line because horizontal line is a very quick way for me to set up a price alert inside of my chart. I see Disney trading at $80.39. All right. Let's say that, it started low. I started at 80. It's kind of recovered from that low of 80. Disney is up, right here, 34 cents from the opening price, although the low was 79.90. Let's suppose that we want to be alerted if Disney drops again below 80. So what I'm going to do, let me open up my chart a little bit more. I'm going to set my cursor close to 80. I'm going to click and drag. I'm going to click and hold. So I'm going to click. Notice what's happening. I clicked down here and the horizontal line showed up here. The reason for that is because I'm using a feature called snap mode. Snap mode is one of the drawing tool features that automatically makes your drawing attached to one of the prices of the candle. So I was clicking down here at 80, somewhere in the open space, and snap mode said, I cannot put this, I cannot put the line there because there's no prices there. Of course, if I go back, I can see 80 back here, but not in this area. So that's what snap mode does. Sometimes that's convenient because it automatically attaches to a specific price on the candle. But some other times it works against you because I wanted my line down here at 80 and it went up here at 80.32, but that's okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go here to the drawing menu and turn that snap mode off. This is where you click on to turn it off. It's off by default. So if you don't know that it exists, it's probably never going to bother you. Sometimes I turn it on to give my clicking a little bit more precision, especially if you're trying to hit that high or that low price. Snap mode is going to help you. I'm going to disable it right now. And then I'm going to take that horizontal line that I drew and I'm going to drag it down right here to 80. There we go. It shows that it's an 80. I'm going to double click on that line, go to the alerts tab and enable the alert. That's all you need to do. And I'm just going to click OK here. So now I've turned on the alert on that horizontal line. As soon as the price activity touches that price of 80, I'm going to be alerted. If you noticed, let me go back in there so you can see in the alert dialog, of course, you can configure the alert and you can specify the sound you want to hear or the pop-up window that you want to see, but you can set up alerts on any drawing tool. So if you are the type of user that draws trend lines, horizontal lines, drawing menu is going to help you a lot. Some of the drawings there will take one click to draw, like the horizontal. We just clicked once and the line showed up. For a trend line, you're going to have to click on 2 points. You're going to have to click on the starting point and the end point, which will establish your trend line. Some others are a little bit more technical in its calculations. Like, for example, if you were to draw an Andrews pitchfork, for example, that requires 3 clicks, point A, point B, and point C, and it draws your Andrews pitchfork. So explore the drawing tools. Each one will have its technicalities, but every single one we'll have this alerts tab, which allows you to turn on alerts and be alerted when the price activity is touching any of the lines inside of your chart. Okay. Perfect. So, Richard, I'm not really sure what you mean by you only seeing the chart. That's the only thing that I'm showing at the moment. So we're talking about drawing tools and technical indicators. If you're looking for technical indicators, they're all going to be here in the studies tab. So I click on studies and I click on add study. Here we have dozens of different technical indicators you can apply to TradeStation charts. We have, the popular ones that are pretty much on every trading platform, like Bollinger's, MACD, RSI, stochastics, whatever you're looking for, you're most likely going to find it here. The studies in TradeStation are organized in 5 different tabs. We have indicators, show me's, paint bars, activity bars, and probability maps. So again, it's time to explore and see what's available. If something catches your eye, for example, if I scroll down here and I see something called ATR bands, and I want to learn a little bit more about how the indicator works, I highlight it and I click on this definition button. It's going to take me to the help documentation, letting me know how the indicator works. In this case, the ATR bands is an indicator that is not found. So bad example. So if you find something like that, let me know and we'll try to make it work. So let's go here and see something like awesome oscillator. Let's see if it's some documentation about the awesome oscillator. Let's go to definition. It's great when you're doing a presentation, you click on something and it doesn't work, right? Okay, so here we have the awesome oscillator. We have a screen capture of how the indicator looks. We have some information about the inputs, market synopsis. So you do get some documentation on the study just to have an understanding of how the study works. I'm going to choose something we can all relate to. Let's start with a moving average 2-line. So 2 moving averages set at different parameters. I'm just going to click OK, and the indicator gets added to my screen automatically. I didn't have to supply the parameters. There are some default parameters that it uses. And if you do want to set your own parameters, you have to modify it. So I do see the 2 lines on my screen. If I want to format that study, I'm going to double click on it. I choose double click because I like shortcuts. Now you can go to studies and click on edit studies and then highlight the moving average, then click on customize. It takes you to this customize indicator dialog. Now I don't usually go that route because it requires a lot of clicks. What I do is I double click on the lines of the moving average and it takes you directly to that same dialog, customize an indicator. Just be careful because if you miss the line, you may be double clicking on the background, which is a different dialog. It's a good dialog because you are customizing the window, but that's not what you want to do. So just be careful where you double click because it may be taking you to a different place. Double clicking on the indicator lines takes you to the customize indicator. Let's go back in there. I'm going to double click on the lines. I'm going to go to inputs. And in here, I'm going to talk about, I can change the fast length. Let's say that I want to do a 30 period versus a 60 period. I put those parameters in here and then I click OK. You can see how the calculation of the averages change. I'm using more data, so they smooth out a little bit more than what they were. But in a moving average calculation like we're seeing here, what you're looking for is for the moving averages to cross, right? If the fast crosses over the slow, that's a bullish signal. And if the fast crosses below the slow, it's a bearish signal. So we're looking for those crossovers. And we can see that, at the beginning of the day, the moving averages were kind of separated. We're seeing the 2 moving averages kind of moving closer as the data moves. And it may be related to this up movement that was generated at the beginning of the day, which is making the moving averages, get closer to each other. They may they may grow apart again based on what the data does right now. We have some 3 candles that are pushing the prices down, but it's still, we want to make sure that we keep an eye here. If moving average is your thing, at least, to get a kind of a market sentiment. If you want to be alerted when those 2 lines cross, yes, you can do that. In fact, every technical indicator in TradeStation has built-in alert criteria, and all you need to do is turn it on. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to double click on one of these lines. This is a place where we modified the parameters, but this time I'm going to go to the alerts tab and I'm going to enable the alert. Again, this is the same dialog that we saw when we enabled the alert on the horizontal line, but here we are generating that alert on the moving averages. So yeah, you can choose different sounds, different pop-up windows so that you can identify the different alerts that are being generated. Right now it's using global messaging preferences. So you have global preferences that apply to all alerts. But if you want to be specific, you can use custom settings for this particular alert. I don't know, maybe you want to, play your favorite song when an alert happens, you can do that here on TradeStation if you want it. All right, so I can turn on the alert. I can say alert once per bar. Continuously sometimes may get annoying because if every single tick that comes in meets the criteria, you may have annoying alerts that don't get disabled. So alert once per bar, in this case, allows me to reset the alert every 5 minutes, which is the time frame on my chart. I'm going to click OK, and my alert is set up. Now I can go on to something else. I can open up a new workspace. I'm looking at a blank slate here. I can go to apps and maybe open up a radar screen. And the workspace that I have open is monitoring my moving averages. So as soon as the alert is triggered, I should get an audible and a visual alert. Okay, this is my radar screen. We're going to talk about building watch lists in just a moment. Mustafa says, when I give the command for 30 days, how to back normal as default. If you want to go back to the way that it was, for example, in this case, I type in 30 days. If you want to go back to the 5 days, just type in 5 days. And then you only get 5 days of historical data. I had 30, now I have 5 days. So the default, there's always a default, if you want to change the default, if that's what you're asking, then come here, double click on the candles. We go to another double click. So you can double click on the window, double click on the indicator, you can double click on the candles. They all take you to different places. You can go to data here and edit symbol, but sometimes I like shortcuts and I like double clicking on the candles. I double click on the candle. On a 5-minute chart, you can see here that's minute 5. You can load whatever amount of data you want to load, and you can set that as the default. And TradeStation will remember that every time you load up a 5-minute chart. If you want to load always like 60 days of data, then you can set that as a default. Now, always be respectful of data. I mean, you don't want to overwhelm your TradeStation with data downloads. So do not set a default of 30 years of 5-minute data, because every time you load a 5-minute chart, it's going to load 30 years of data for that. So make sure that when you're setting defaults, they're not going to be taxing your TradeStation, which with enormous amounts of data. Okay, let's just keep that in mind anytime we're setting something as a default. Okay. This is Disney. We talked about the moving averages. Yeah, it's cool that you can track alerts, if those two lines cross. So it's cool that I can set up an alert on Disney. But what if I wanted to do the same analysis on a list of symbols? Let me go here to my radar screen. This is where you set up either custom watch lists, or you can scan the markets as well. So I can type in symbols manually if I want to. So if I type in Disney, you get a quote for Disney, including, what the open, the high, the low, the net change, volume for today. See, we have 1.9 million shares traded so far. So I can just type in symbols and my radar screen will populate. I can skip a row and I can type in other asset classes. So if you have real-time data for futures, I can type in ESZ23 for the December contract. Maybe I can do NQZ23 for the NASDAQ mini contract. I can do YMZ23. This is the Dow. So whichever futures you're trading, you can also include them here. In fact, you can load up options symbols here as well. Now, rather than typing up my list of symbols, which you can, you're welcome to do so, I can insert a symbol list. But before I do that, let me show you something else. You see how that I skipped a row right here in between my stocks and my futures? I did that because it's a habit, and it also helps you keep your symbols separated. You know, we have a percentage change here that allows me to rank the symbols based on percentage change. If I want to see the ones that have changed the most, if I double click on the column header, notice that it goes from the smallest to the biggest. If I double click again, it goes from largest to smallest. So that controls, you know, the order of the sort. But the nice thing about skipping a row is that it doesn't mix my stocks with my futures. So this is a way to keep sections of symbols separate from others. And when you do a sort, it won't mix them together. It will keep them separate. In fact, I can go and right click in this empty row, go to data, and I can add a label. And I can say futures, type in my own custom label. Same thing. You can either have a blank row or a custom label, and it's a way to organize your securities if you wanted to do it that way. Let me go to remove this because what I wanted to do is go to data. Instead of adding a symbol, I'm going to add a symbol list, and I'm going to add the NASDAQ 100. This puts, you know, the NASDAQ 100 symbols onto my radar screen. There is an interval component here, which tells you that this is going to load historical data, and you'll be able to do technical analysis. But let me go ahead and open up some space here on the right-hand side. I'm going to put a chart here on the right-hand side. I'm also going to remove some columns here that I don't need. I don't need the bid, ask, or the high or the low. So I'm going to click and drag over those 4 columns, and I'm going to press delete. And a lot of times those columns come in as default. If you want to change, you know, what columns you want to see every time you open up radar screen, just go to studies and edit studies, and it'll allow you to change the columns that are selected. All right, I'm going to open up a chart here. So apps, chart analysis, put it right over here on the right-hand side, resize it so that it fits, go to studies, add study. I'm going to do the moving average 2-line, which is the same, you know, indicator that I used just a moment ago. And I'm going to link the 2 windows together. I'm going to link my chart, click on the S right here on the top, and I'm going to click on the S for my radar screen. What that does is that it links the 2 windows together, and I can click on any symbol here to get it loaded on the chart automatically. So if I want to look at Amazon, for example, let's click here, Amazon, and you can see that Amazon gets loaded here. Of course, my chart is set to a 5-minute, so it matches my radar screen. But this moving average that you see here that we added on the right-hand side is 1 symbol. Let's add the moving average to all the symbols that are here, which is what's going to set my radar screen apart from any other quotes window. Let me click on the plus right here at the very top. You can either click on the plus to add another column, or you can go to studies and add study. It's the same thing. It's just going to load all the studies that you can put into a radar screen. And one thing that's going to stand out is that you can add any study that comes already supplied with the TradeStation platform in terms of charting. All charting indicators, or most charting indicators, will work inside of radar screen. So I can come here and say, give me the moving average 2 lines, which is the same indicator that I have here in charting. I'm going to add it, and I'm going to move it down so that it's next to right at the very end of my list of columns. I'm going to click OK. And that puts my moving average 2 line right here. Now, we were looking at Amazon here on this chart. So I'm going to compare the values. On Amazon, you know, my fast average is 125.48, which is 125.48 right here. This is my fast average. And my slow average is 125.73, which matches my 125.73 here on the right-hand side. So you can see that on my radar screen, this column right here, moving average 2 lines, is loading historical data like if it was a chart and giving me the value or the calculation for those moving averages. So let's go ahead and change something up. I'm going to come here to the chart. I'm going to click on the time frame drop down. Again, very easy to access, pre-selected time frames for you. I'm going to click on daily so that we can see a daily calculation of that moving average. And I'm going to do the same thing here on the radar screen, because now my indicators are not going to match. If I look at Amazon again, my fast is 125.32, where my fast here on the daily is 132.69. Because I'm changing the time frame, I need to change the time frame here in radar screen as well. For that, I'm going to highlight the whole symbol column. Remember that it's the symbol that we're editing. And I'm going to click on the time frame, and I'm going to make those daily as well. So notice that interval now says daily all the way down. And if I choose Amazon, then I see the fast as 32.169, 132.70, and I see, there's Amazon, okay, 132.70, and I see 132.70 right here for the fast average. Hopefully this makes sense, because I'm using the radar screen as a way to scan over 100 symbols. The idea here is that instead of using the moving averages on a chart, which is just one single symbol, you can put the same indicator on a list of 100 and have the same scanning and filtering capabilities, where the radar screen is going to tell you which symbols are crossing right now. All I need to do is turn on the alert on that moving average 2 lines. Right click on the header, go to studies. I'm going to click on edit moving average 2 lines for all symbols. Check the box for enable alert. This time I'm going to alert continuously, because I'm going to disable message center notification. So it says none. So no pop-up messages, no signs, no sounds firing off. Notice that in parentheses, it says for use when scanning for alerts in radar screen. So I'm turning on the alert, not with intention of receiving a sound and then getting, my attention, but more like a filtering device. I'm looking for symbols that are meeting the criteria right now. So I don't necessarily need a sound. I just need something that is visual. I'm going to click OK, and that's it. I've turned on the alert. I'm not sure if they're visible right here on the screen, but there's a little corner in the color orange next to each cell. And every so often, I'm going to get a little red marker. Do you guys see it? See it here for Cintas Corporation? You can see that it has a red marker. I also see another one down here for, what is it? Exelon Corporation. And then we have it again for Global Foundries. Foundries, yeah, that's the name of the corporation. So these red markers that you see on the right-hand side, these are symbols that are crossing right now in real time. Amazon, of course, is not crossing. You can see that it crossed. Amazon crossed, a few days ago, September 25th. But now, you see how the lines are separating from each other. But if I click on the symbol for Cintas, you can see how the moving averages were separated, and all of a sudden on today's bar, they crossed. Real-time alert. Let's take a look at another one. Let's take a look at Exelon. Again, we see how the moving averages are apart, and all of a sudden today, they come together and they cross. So the radar screen is the type of window or the type of application that is going to allow you to find situations. What's happening to the market? I find this group of stocks that are behaving in a certain way. In this case, they're providing me bullish and bearish signals based on the moving averages. I can come here at the top of my radar screen. There's a filter bar, which makes things a lot easier when you're scanning for these symbol. Instead of me having to scroll up and down and find all the red markers, I can select here on the first column. I can say, give me my moving average 2 line, and I want the alert to be true. You see how easy that was? So in a couple minutes, I was able to scan all the 100 symbols that make up the NASDAQ 100 index, and I can find that there are 7 symbols generating the alert right now. Starting with Global Foundries, this is just going to show the symbols. Are they going to show in alphabetical order? No, they don't show in alphabetical order. I'm not sure which order they are in, though. I think, that's an interesting question, but not relevant to what we're doing right now. The interesting thing right here is that
we get this information. We're able to get this real-time information of stocks that are crossing right now. If we look at something we haven't looked at before, for example, Pepsi Cola, if I click on PEP, we can see how the moving averages are crossing right now. So whatever the technical criteria is that you're looking for, it may not be moving averages, but if you're looking for RSI, stochastics, MACD, whatever the technical idea you want to filter by, you can just put it on a radar screen and you can scan up to 1,000 symbols. That's a lot of symbols to filter. Right now, I just did 100, and you can see how quickly I was able to identify those symbols meeting certain criteria. So it's a great tool. I want you guys to explore and use it. And there's a lot of feature and functionality that you can leverage to find, those stocks that are meeting the criteria you're looking for. Let's go on to trading, because I want to show you a few things here as well. Let's suppose that we've done our analysis and charting, we've done our scanning and our filtering, we found the stocks that are probably good trading candidates. Now it's a matter of putting in those trades, right? So I'm going to go to apps. TradeStation has many different ways in which you can put in a trade. You can trade from a chart, you can trade from the trade bar at the top, you can trade from the matrix, you can trade from the market depth window. So you're going to have to try all these out and choose the one that you're more comfortable with. I'm going to show you the matrix. The matrix gives you a lot of information, and it's a great window to put in your trades. It just makes it very efficient. All right, so I'm going to make this larger. Maybe make my orders column a little bit bigger. I like to see that a little bit wider. My P&L is here on the left-hand side. This is Pepsi Cola. Let me switch the symbol here to, this is Visa. All right, this I just wanted a little bit more condensed view. I have a position on Verizon, so let's go here to Bank of America. This is Bank of America stock. We can see the current trading price is right there in the middle. It's trading at $27.35. Okay. Mustafa is asking about an auto arrangement feature inside the workspace. Yes, just go to Window, and we have arrange functionality if you want to try that out. Okay. So Bank of America, we can see the current trading price right there in the middle, highlighted in gray, 27.36, 27.35. You can see that it's updating in real time. The number to the left is the last traded size. And on the blue and the red, we have the interest that there is in the market on Bank of America. On the blue, we have all the buyers, and on the red, we have all the sellers. Whenever a buyer that is interested in buying shares of Bank of America submits an order at a specific price, let's say, for example, 27.25, we see it down here. There's already 32,000 shares waiting to get filled at 27.25. So this gives you visibility into market depth and how many shares are waiting to get filled at those prices. Of course, that gives you a lot of information, and it gives you a lot about market sentiment and where the market could be headed. Notice that right here at 27.20, we have another large group of orders waiting to get filled, 21,000 shares at 27.20. On the selling side, of course, a seller will always want a higher price, but we can see groupings of orders that are pretty large. Like, for example, right here at 27.50, we have 13,000 shares being sold at 27.50. And of course, all these traders that are submitting trades, they all are going to agree somewhere in the middle. Now, that's your best buying and selling price. A buying price at, 27.39 and the asking price at 27.40. So it's interesting that we have that relationship between buyers and sellers. And more interesting is that we're able to see the number of shares that are waiting on each side. This is called level 2. It's called market depth. If you don't see it inside of your matrix, it's okay. These are additional data packages that you can turn on inside of your TradeStation. They do cost more than just the regular inside bid and ask. So if you wanted to see the depth of the market, you have to subscribe to some data packages, which you can do directly inside of the TradeStation Client Center. But if you're looking at the matrix on your TradeStation platform and you don't see the same numbers that I see on my matrix, it's because my matrix is turned on all those data packages for you to see what it looks like. But it does provide you some additional information on what the market is doing. By the way, everybody sees this alert? It says chart analysis alert. Disney crossed on the moving averages, $80.38. If I go back to the chart, let's see. Here we go. We crossed. You guys remember when we were looking at this and we said, hey, the moving averages are kind of getting closer to each other, but now you see how they're crossing? And notice how we did get notified. I heard a little ding on my computer. You probably didn't hear it because of the Zoom presentation, but I heard my computer ding and I saw the pop-up message right there at the bottom right corner. So it got my attention and I was able to look at the chart and you can see how the two moving averages are crossing. So the alerts are working, are really nice. Let's go back here to my Bank of America matrix. I'm going to put in a trade. By the way, you can trade by just clicking on the bid or the ask. So if I'm a buyer at say at 27.33 cents, I just hover over the blue and you can see I haven't clicked yet, but you can see that there's a little extension blue that says buy 500 limit. I can change the quantity here if I want on the right side. So I'm going to change the quantity to 1,000. Now, if I hover over 27.33, you can see that it says buy 1,000 limit. One click and the order gets submitted. Now I can move around and I can see that order on the orders column. And you can see that I have a buying transaction sitting right there at 27.33. You can also see how my order relates to the current market. You know, the current market's at 27.39. So 27.41 as we speak. So it's 8 cents away. You may watch how the current market price is moving away from your order, but you can make adjustments very quickly. I can say, I'm going to move my buy order from 27.33 to 27.38. And all I need to do is click and drag. I click that order box. I drop it right here at 27.38. And that's all that I need to do. Now I'm a buyer at 27.38, not 27.33. And I did that by just clicking and dragging. Pretty cool, huh? The market's going to drop. It's going to hit my buy transaction. Maybe, maybe not. The best selling price right now is 27.40. So the sellers have to drop to 27.38 and somebody has to sell me the 1,000 shares of Bank of America at 27.38. Of course, after all these shares that are waiting here get filled, I was a little late into the game. There were already 12,000 shares waiting to get filled at 27.38, but that's all great information to know. As you're putting in trades, you know, you get a sense of, okay, where in line are you? How much do you have to wait for you to get filled? Where the price is, the best bid, the best ask. If I wanted to get filled right away, let's say that I get a little bit impatient. I say, I want to get filled right away. Let's push my order to 27.41. I'm going to click on my order and drop it on the inside ask. Order filled. And it gets filled immediately. You can see that blue bar running across. It highlights, you know, my average cost, 27.41. And over here on the left-hand side, I have profit and loss. Now, I can use the profit and loss to set targets and stops. So let's say, for example, I say, okay, Bank of America, it's moving up and down. Every time that it moves up a penny, I make $10. And every time that it drops a penny, I lose $10. The reason for that is because I own 1,000 shares. So 1,000 shares times a penny is $10. But I can say, if it reaches $150 up here, I want you to sell. And I can just click on that 150 and I can submit a selling transaction. By the way, one thing that I didn't tell you when I placed that first order is that my confirmations are disabled, meaning that as soon as I click, the order gets submitted. Some people like that, and you know, one-click order entry behavior. Some others would rather have a confirmation so that they can check the order and make sure that that's the order they want to put in. But in this example, I disabled them so I can do those orders quickly. Clicking and dragging, these orders can also be done if I wanted to adjust my target to 100. And clicking on an order, like for example, notice that I'm hovering. I haven't even clicked and it already says cancel order. So I know that if I click here, I'm going to cancel the order and you can see how the box goes away. You can do that with negative values as well. So I can set a stop at 100. Here I clicked on the negative 100 and that's a selling transaction to get out at 100. For the most part, you know, when you're trading, you're going to want to plan your trade, and maybe this is the way you trade. You say, okay, I'm going to get in at this price, and I know that there's potential for the price to go up, and I can gain some profits based on historical price movement. So I'm going to set my target at 20 cents. 20 cents times 1,000, that's $200. Maybe you've looked at ATR, you know that there's potential for you to reach that $200 target. But at the same time, you're going to say, at the same time, I want to protect myself because I don't want to be glued to my computer screen watching where the price of Bank of America is going to go. So if it goes up, yes, I'm happy because I have my profit target. But if it goes against me, I also want to be protected and say, I want to sell those shares also if they drop to a certain level. Now, those are two different selling transactions, right? One at a profit and another one at a loss. In TradeStation, the only way that you can have those two active orders at the same time is if you send them as an OCO. OCO is an order cancels order, so that you can have these both different scenarios playing out for your position, and whichever one gets hit, then the other one gets canceled. If it hits the target, there's no point of keeping the stop, so it's going to be canceled, and vice versa. If it hits the stop and you lose money, then you're already out of the position, so there's no point in keeping your target. When you do a trade like that, let me go ahead and click on these yellow buttons to cancel my active orders. I'm also going to click on the close button. This close button is going to close. Be careful because the close button sends a market order to get rid of your position. In this case, I own 1,000 shares of Bank of America. You can see my position up here. So if I click on close, order filled, it automatically closes everything with a market order, and it gets me out at the current trading price. What I'm going to do is this all-inclusive trade that we just talked about. I'm going to enter at, let's say, 27.30, which has the V next to it. The V is the VWAP, volume weighted average price. So I'm going to enter at 27.30. I'm going to have a 20-cent target and a 10-cent stop. Okay. That's a way that I think about profit targets and stop losses, cents per share. So if I want to set that up, the first thing that I need to do is click this box, attach OSO, because I'm going to have to attach my exit to my entry. So in the dropdown, of course, we have multiple templates here. And again, you're gonna need to explore all the different templates that we have here. I'm gonna select the top one, which is one limit, one stop. This is the one that matches the scenario that I just described, where you have a profit target and you have one stop loss. I am going to click on the ellipsis here on the right-hand side to check the offsets. So what profit target and stop loss are being monitored? On the limit side, you can see that there's a limit and a stop market. The limit, we have a 10-cent offset. I'm going to change that to 20 cents. And the target, we said we're going to leave it at 10. That gives us a 1-to-2 risk reward ratio. So 10 cents on my stop, 20 cents on my profit. I'm going to click OK, and that's all you need to do. Specify what the offsets are. What I'm going to do right now is click on, hover over the blue, come down to 27.30, which is the price that I wanted to get in at. I'm going to click here, and that's it. I have my entry order. This darker box up here is my profit target, and this box down here is my stop loss. And you can see how we have all three orders connected and being and active for you. So you don't necessarily have to continuously watch Bank of America. You can just let it sit here and play out your plan. What is your plan? Your plan is to get in at 27.30. If it goes up 20 cents, you're going to capture some profits. But if it goes against you 10 cents, you're going to get out at a $100 loss. Now, if you do want to adjust this, like for example, right now, the current price is 27.45 and it's pushing, making new highs on Bank of America. I can drag the primary order. Let's say that I'm going to drag it to 27.40. And you're going to see how the relationship between my target and my stop is maintained because we made it an offset from the entry. So if I moved my entry to 27.40, Now my target's at 27.60, and I can continue to trade or move that around until I get filled. Once I get filled, notice how my profit target and my stop loss are both activated. They show up in color red, which is the color for selling transactions, and it's going to monitor my position for those two scenarios. So I don't really have to manage the order myself. I just have the plan. I set up the plan here in the matrix and execute it. And then I just I'm okay with both different scenarios. If it captures the $200, I'm happy. And if it goes against me and I lose $100, it's something that I already planned. So there shouldn't be a surprise. Okay. So that's great functionality that's here. Of course, there's much more than that. I just provided an example of something that a lot of traders do, sending your entries with the exits and making sure that everything is in place so that you can be a little bit more relaxed and not let the emotions take over your trading. All right. Are there any questions so far about the features that I've explained today? I know that I probably went a little bit too fast and provided you a lot of information, but that's the whole idea, right? You want to come to these classes to learn more about TradeStation. So the more you hear, the better. There is going to be a recording in a few days. All the presentations we do at TradeStation have to go through our compliance department. So they do check the content, and then we post it on YouTube. Manolo, if you can, please provide the class with where the recordings would be, because many times you come to these classes because you're looking for education on a different platform, like the mobile app or web trading. We do classes on all our trading platforms, and if you're looking for education on those, we have the archives that you can check right there for Manolo just shared that link right there in the chat. That's where the archives are for the getting started. But this is it. This is all the information that I had for you guys. Thank you. I don't see any questions here. I do see a question from Phil. Is there a scannable PDF manual to find topics? We don't have that sort of thing. So we don't have a manual per se. So all the documentation you're going to find is inside of the TradeStation platform. So you go to help, get help, and then you go to platform trading, and this opens up help documentation. There are, buttons here that takes you to specific applications, but over here on the right, we have sort of a menu that takes you through, different topics about the TradeStation platform. You can use this as well to jump. Okay. So that's the best that's what the closest we get to a manual here. So thank you for your time. Thank you for joining me today. I hope that I can see you in my afternoon presentation at 2. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. And I look forward to seeing you in future classes. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.